Wisdom development, bhavita-panna. The basis for an arahant's wisdom is the ability to see things as they truly are. This clear seeing starts at cognition of sense objects by way of the six senses, with a mind that is equanimous and mindful, not swayed by pleasure or aversion. Such a person is able to observe a sense impression from beginning to end without being distracted or disturbed by it. Ordinary people, on the other hand, tend to get stuck at the point where sense impressions produce a feeling of pleasure and aversion. As a result, they tend to elaborate on and create distorted ideas about the things they encounter. They have a false understanding. They see things clouded by defilement rather than as they truly are. Take, for example, a person who agrees with a statement when he has been flattered, but disagrees without the flattery. Or a person may agree because he likes the speaker, yet disagree when the identical subject is mentioned by someone he dislikes. Arahants are not deceived by the external appearances of things. They acknowledge the facets of the truth and do not attach to just one perspective. The wisdom of an arahant helps to dispel the claim that Buddhism is a pessimistic doctrine. For example, those who have realized the truth, Buddha Dhamma, know that the five aggregates are neither exclusively painful nor exclusively pleasant. A person who is to be enlightened must understand the merits, asada, and disadvantages, dinawa, of sense desire, as well as the deliverance, nisarana, from it. The merits are seen as merits, the disadvantages as disadvantages, and the deliverance as deliverance. The abandonment of sense desire and the end of both hankering for the world and grasping the five aggregates is due to seeing the way of deliverance. A person will then be independent of such merits and disadvantages, abiding in happiness. A happiness that is subtler and greater than happiness conditioned by pleasant and unpleasant experiences. The acquisite things in the world are not referred to as sense desire, kama. Only a person's lustful intentions constitute sense desire. The acquisite things in the world abide just as they are. Therefore, the wise only remove the fascination for these things. Another level of wisdom is the comprehension of the universal characteristics, impermanence, anicca, dukkha, and non-self, anatta, and of language, in particular of conventions, samadhi, and designations, paññāti. The comprehension of language includes understanding the nature of worldly speech, lokiya vahara, and knowing how to use language to convey meaning without clinging to linguistic conventions. A monk whose mind is liberated sides with no one and disputes with no one. He employs the speech currently used in the world without attaching to it. An arahant with taints destroyed may say, I speak this way, and they speak to me this way. Skillful, knowing the world's parlance, he uses such terms as mere expressions. Monks, I do not contend with the world, rather it is the world that contends with me. A speaker of the Dhamma, Dhammavadi, does not dispute with anyone in the world. Whatever the learned ones agree upon as not existing in the world, I too say that it does not exist. Whatever the learned ones agree upon as existing, I too say that it exists. These are worldly terms, expressions, manners of speech, and designations. The Tathagata uses these, but does not attach to them. With the arising of wisdom, seeing how all conditioned things originate from interdependent causes, a person understands the world according to truth. This is the arising of a correct worldview. Metaphysical beliefs and theories, as well as doubts, bhavita-panna, vanish automatically. Monks, the remainderless fading away and cessation of ignorance, whichever conflicting, obstinate, and confounding views exist, such as what are mental formations, who owns these mental formations. Mental formations are one thing, the owners of such formations are another thing. The life principle, jiva, and the body are the same. The life principle is one thing, the body is another. All of these views are abandoned. A bhikkhu inquired, what is the cause, what is the condition by which a learned, noble disciple would not have doubt arise concerning the matters that the Lord has not explained? The Buddha replied, with the cessation of ignorance, learned noble disciples will not have doubt arise concerning the matters that I have not explained. An unlearned, unenlightened person does not clearly know views, the origin of views, the cessation of views, and the way leading to the cessation of views. Those views increase, and he will not be released from aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Another feature of an arahant's wisdom is that he or she does not rely on faith or belief, a quality which in Pali is called asada, faithless. This quality is the opposite of disbelief or faithlessness in the ordinary sense, which means not believing due to lack of confidence in others or due to obstinacy. Here it means one does not need to believe because one knows and sees with clarity. One knows for oneself and is independent of the knowledge of others. Faith implies reliance on someone else's knowledge when we do not yet clearly know for ourselves. Once we have seen something as it truly is, there is no need to depend on others for knowledge. This is a knowledge that is greater than faith or belief. Of things that are fully known by himself, evident to himself, he does not have faith in others, neither ascetics nor Brahmins, nor gods, nor Mara, nor Brahma. He does not believe others concerning things fully known by himself. Evident to himself, that is, formations are impermanent, formations are dukkha, formations are non-self. With ignorance as condition, there are mental formations. Likewise, Venerable Sariputta said to the Buddha, in this matter I do not go with faith to the Blessed One. This matter I have known, seen, experienced, realized, and discerned with wisdom. Therefore I have no doubts or uncertainties. At the time of the Buddha, people were very interested in the concept of a great man, Mahapurusha, and therefore there are many passages in the Tipitaka in reference to this term. There are references to the characteristics of a great man, Mahapurusha Lakkhana, For example, in the case of the Brahman's predictions about Prince Siddhartha, which were based on their ancient texts. But from the perspective of the teachings, more interesting passages pertain to the question posed to the Buddha after his awakening of who is worthy of the title Great Man. This frequent question shows that this concept was still important and a matter of debate. On one occasion, Venerable Sariputta went to see the Buddha and asked him this question. Venerable Sir, it is said, a great man, in what way is one a great man? The Buddha replied, with a liberated mind, I say, Sariputta, one is a great man. Without a liberated mind, I say, one is not a great man. This reply indicates that the Buddha considered an arahant one who has completed the 4 aspects of development to be a great man. His reply is very brief and succinct, focusing on the final criteria, a completion of the 4 kinds of development, cultivating and liberating wisdom. No matter how skilled or proficient a person may be, if he is still not fully liberated from mental defilement, he is not yet a great man. To be worthy of this title, one must be free from suffering. For example, one's thought processes are truly free from any restriction or impurity, which does not mean that one obtains everything that one wishes for or faces, no obstruction or coercion from others. On the highest level, one's wisdom is free from any domination or manipulation, from fabricated sense of self. One's thoughts do not simply follow one's desires, propelled by craving, tanha, conceit, mana, and fixed views, diti. In any case, the reason for the Buddha's brevity here is most likely because he was speaking to Venerable Sariputta, the foremost disciple proficient in wisdom. The Buddha thus mentioned only the decisive criteria, along with tying in the concept of liberation with the teaching on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, presenting the supreme perspective on this subject. The teaching by the Buddha, which elaborates on this concept of a great man, stems from a conversation he had with Vasakara, the chief minister of Magadha. On one occasion, while the Buddha was staying in a bamboo grove at Rajagaha, he was approached by Vasakara, who said that according to his own doctrine, a person considered to be a great man with superior wisdom is endowed with 4 attributes. 1. He is highly learned, well informed of various fields of learning, and understands the meaning of various statements, able to distinguish one from another. 2. He has a good memory. He remembers and recollects what was done and said long ago. 3. He is skilled and diligent in attending to the diverse chores of a householder. And 4. He possesses sound judgment, knowing how to carry out and arrange his affairs. After presenting this explanation, Vasakara asked the Buddha whether he approves or rejects this statement. The Buddha replied, saying that he neither approves nor rejects this statement, but that he himself describes a great man with superior wisdom as possessing 4 other qualities. 1. A person practices for the welfare and happiness of the many folk. He is one who has established people in the noble way, that is, to be endowed with beautiful and wholesome qualities. 2. He thinks whatever he wants to think, and does not think what he does not want to think. He intends whatever he wants to intend, and does not intend what he does not want to intend. Thus he has attained to mental mastery over the ways of thought. 3. He gains at will, without trouble or difficulty, the 4 jhanas that constitute the higher mind, abhicitta, and are pleasant abidings in this very life. 4. With the destruction of the taints, he has realized for himself, with direct knowledge, the taintless liberation of mind and liberation by wisdom, and dwells in it here and now. Although there are many teachings by the Buddha on this concept of a great man, they usually appear in verse form and are a reply to people's specific questions, so most are either brief or focused on one particular aspect. The teaching presented to the chief minister above is in prose, and it contained clearly defined principles, which are relevant to everyone. The 4 kinds of development, bhavita, are incorporated in the 4 attributes of a great man. Expressed in a different way, these 4 attributes reveal another aspect of the 4 kinds of development, highlighting the superior and exceptional capabilities of an arahant, which are difficult for an ordinary person to attain. The first attribute reveals how arahants, those who have fulfilled the holy life, brahmacharya, are no longer burdened with any personal concerns, including any form of spiritual training. From the time of their full awakening, they devote themselves entirely to the welfare and happiness of the multitudes, which becomes the essence of their lives. This corresponds to the goal of the holy life, to Buddhism in its entirety, which is encapsulated in the Buddha's frequent exhortation to act for the benefit of the many folk, for the happiness of the many folk, out of compassion for people in the world. The compassionate, altruistic action also points to the connection between individual happiness and promoting the happiness of others. In whichever way one describes the attributes of arahants, including the preceding description of the 4 kinds of development, they always rest firmly on 3 essential qualities: wisdom, specifically called vijja, liberation, vimukti, and compassion, karuna, which is the force irradiating knowledge and wisdom outwards, resulting in others obtaining knowledge and arriving at deliverance. If we identify an unawakened being as someone bound, wisdom is the knife that cuts the bonds. Liberation is the release from the bonds into freedom, and compassion is once a person is no longer agitated and anxious about his or her own concerns, the looking to others who are still bound and eradicating them. Technically, vijja is the path, magga, whereas vimukti is generally considered fruit or result, phala. The authors of later texts, however, have divided vimukti into more detail as 2 parts, as both path and fruit. They say that the act or moment of release is the path. The state of having been released and abiding in freedom is the fruit. The realization of nibbana is completed at wisdom and liberation. Compassion is the subsequent acting for others. In other words, personal concerns, atatta, are ended at wisdom and liberation. Matters to be done for others, paratta, or deeds then taken up by compassion. Note that these three qualities, wisdom, liberation, and compassion, liberation is a result. It is a finished condition and facilitates further action, but is not the agent itself. Wisdom and compassion are agents. Wisdom is the factor bringing about the realization of nibbana, which is the accomplishment of personal concerns. Compassion is the factor that helps to settle the affairs of others. For this reason, wisdom and compassion are professed to the primary attributes of the Buddha. Wisdom is the essential element for personal welfare, attata, or for the completion of personal benefit, attahita sampatti, while compassion is the essential element for others' well-being, parata, or for the practice of benefiting others, parahita pati pati. In short, the Buddha's attributes are of two kinds: the completion of personal benefit with wisdom as agent, and the practice of benefiting others with compassion as agent. Both the completion of personal benefit and the practice of benefiting others are meaningful and genuine because they are confirmed by liberation. Liberation is proof of the arrival at nibbana. It is an essential characteristic of nibbana and is synonymous with nibbana.